Good morning and welcome to this episode of The Mentor. Today we're going to continue our discussion on God's location and allocation. God's location and allocation. And we'll be reading from Genesis chapter 1 from verse 1 to verse 5 and from verse 12 to verse 16, and it says, and there was a famine in the land beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham and Isaac. In the days of Abraham and Isaac went unto Abimelech, king of Philistines, unto Gerar. And the Lord appeared to him and said, Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell of thee of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee. For unto thee and unto thy seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oaths which I swear unto Abraham thy father. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. Verse 12. Then Isaac sowed in that land and received in the same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. And the man waxed great and went forward and grew until he became very great. For he had possession of flocks and possessions of herds, great store of servants, and the Philistines envied him for all the wells which his father's servants had digged. In the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines had stopped them and filled them with earth. And Abimelech said unto Isaac, Go from us, for thou art much mightier than we. All right. So this particular passage is a good example of God's location and allocation. Now, the Bible says that there was famine in the land, and Isaac wanted to do the same thing that the father did, that is to run away to Jabba from where he was into Egypt, where there was abundance. But the Lord appeared to him and told him, Do not go. Do not go. Do not go. Why did God tell him, do not go? God told him, do not go, because God's allocation for him was where he was currently. The Bible says that God told him, do not go down into Egypt. Dwell in the land which I shall tell you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you, and will bless you. For unto you and unto thy seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oaths which I swear unto Abraham. Now, the most important thing we need to get from this passage is this, that there is an allocation that God has for us in his location. There is an allocation that God has for us in his location. God's plan was to give him the country where he was, the countries where he was. God's allocation or God's plan was for him to occupy these places, he and his seeds. And so if he had gone to Egypt, he would have omitted, he would have lost God's allocation for him in this location. So I want to encourage you. Remember, God's allocation for you is in his location. The Bible tells us in verse 12 that Isaac stayed in God's location for him. He sowed in that land and he reaped 100-fold. And the Bible says he waxed great and he went forward and he grew until he became very great. God's allocation for Isaac was in the place that God told him to stay. He not only did he sow and receive 100-fold, he waxed great, very great. And he went forward, he grew until he became very great, to the extent that the Philistines were envious of him. And They told him, please go from us, for you are mightier than us. Imagine a man mightier than a nation. Imagine a man who has grown in his wealth, in his assets, that he was mightier than a nation because he stayed in God's location for his life. I pray for you that you shall know God's location for your life, that you shall stay in God's location for your life, because therein is your allocation. God bless you.